Alright kiddos, on this video we're going to just be reviewing using length times width times height to find the volume of a rectangular prism. So on this one, you can obviously see it's just a rectangular prism. You're given the length, width, and height, and you have to find the volume of it. So all we're going to have to do is multiply this. So you can take, remember we've talked about many times before, you can take these and do them in whatever order you choose as long as you have the correct three numbers. And you're multiplying because the multiplication is commutative. So you can decide how you want to do these. There's really nothing that I see that would just be easy per se. So I'm just going to start with the first two. So we're going to kind of review multiplying. Let me move this one out of the way a little bit. Alright, so we're going to do 16 times 12. Alright, so 6 times 2 is 12. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. We put our 0, we mark out what we've carried already. 1 times 6 is 6, 1 times 1 is 1, and then we add it together. So this is going to give you 192. So for those two numbers, it's 192, but that's not your final answer because we've got to multiply it times 8. I'm going to grab another color, and we're going to do 192 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 9 is 72, plus 1, 73. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 7 is 15. Now this is your final answer because now you've multiplied. Here was your first number, second number, and then your third number. You've multiplied all of them. So your final answer is 1,536 cubic inches, or inches cubed, however you want to say it. All right. Okay, next question. On this one, they're giving you, it's a little bit different because they're giving you the volume. They're saying the volume is 72 inches. And they're showing you that you have two measurements, which in this case, since they're telling you what is the length, we're going to say this would be the width, this would be the height. But it doesn't really matter because we know that length times width times height is going to give you that 72. So what we're going to have to figure out is what do we have so far? Okay, so what we're given is obviously what we're saying is the width and the height, but we're going to multiply those two numbers together. So we have a 3 and a 4. We multiply that together, we get 12. So that's what we have so far. All right, to figure out what we have left, what other number we're looking for our answer, we're going to ask ourselves, what number times 12 will give me 72? So I can either look at my answer choices that I have those options for, or I can just ask myself, I can divide. You know, the opposite of multiplication or the inverse of multiplication is division. So I could say what number times 12 will give me 72 and try all these choices. Or I can also just say, okay, well, 72 divided by 12, what number could I use? And if I do 6, 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7, and you subtract. So that tells me that 6 is my other number. You could also check that. I'm going to go ahead and circle that answer. But you could also check it if you wanted to and say, okay, well, 12 times 6, does that give me 72? And it does. So 6 is definitely your answer on that one. All right, on this question, they give us a couple of different things. They're telling you that the volume, or that the figure can hold exactly 36 cubes, which means that it is the volume. They want you to select 3 things that apply. So look at that. You got to make sure you pay attention. If they want 3, we've talked about it. If you pick 2, you don't get the answer right. If you pick 1, or if you pick 4, you don't get the right answer. So you've got to make sure you look and see which 3 could apply to that. So you're trying to figure out which set of these multiplication problems are going to give you 36. So if I look at this first one right here, we'd say 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So that means that's one of my answers. So I can check that off. All right, the next one, when I'm going to try to multiply these first two, 12 times 12, that already gives me 144. So that tells me already not my answer. All right, over here, if I do 4 times 8, that gives me 32. You should be able to know if I multiply 32 times 24, that's going to be way bigger than 36. So that's definitely not it. If I do 2 times 2, that's going to give me 4. 4 times 9 gives me 36, which is what we want. So there's our second answer. But remember, we're finding 3. So our next one, 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36. So we would assume that's our third answer. And the last one does not work, and we can look at that just to make sure. 4 times 6 is going to be 24. If I try to do 24 times 12, that's definitely bigger than we need. So those are our three answers right there. All right, on this question, it's asked a little differently. Obviously, there's no picture this time, but also it's giving you something a little bit differently. They're not giving you a length, width, and height. What the information they're giving you is this right here. The first thing it says, obviously it's a rectangular prism, and it has a base with an area of 96 square inches. So remember, the base is that bottom, like rectangle on the bottom. It includes your length times width. So what they've done for this number right here is already multiplied your length times width. So those are those two numbers together. So if they tell you that the shoebox has a height of 6 inches and they want to know the volume, all you have to do, because the 96 includes the length and width, you're just going to use the 96 and you're going to multiply that times the height. And that's all you got to do. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 9 plus 3 is 57. So your answer, because they're asking you for the volume, so the total is 576 cubic inches. All right, this next one is pretty simple because you're using your length times width times height that you know. We're going to take our three numbers and we're going to say 11 times 5 times 6. You, again, can do this in whatever order you choose. I'm just going to start with the first two. 11 times 5 is 55. 55 times 6. Now, that may not be the easiest to do in your head. So, remember, we can very easily go to the side and do scratch work if needed. 5 times 6 is 30. 6 times 5 is 30 again. Plus 3 is 33. So your answer is 330. And remember, we're always, it's centimeters cubed or cubic centimeters, which is answer A. All right, this question's really just asking you, they're giving you information, but it's really just asking you, what of these sentences, these situations, what could you do to get the volume? One thing I would definitely look for is what operations they're talking about. To get volume, what do we normally do? We multiply, right? So if you look at these two, they're saying add. These two are saying multiply. I would guess, just by seeing the adds, that's probably not our answer. We can look at it and see, okay, if I know the base, which means this bottom layer right here, that whole bottom layer, or you could even do the top layer. Either one is going to be the same. That means that one of those is 12. So they're asking, could we just add 4 to it? Well, no. We've got all these pieces in here. We can't just say 12, the 12 plus just 4 of it. That doesn't even make sense. Same thing with 5, 12 and just 5 of these. No. So our answer right here, 12 times by multiply 12 by 4. Well, we have 12 on top, but we got to see how many layers do we have. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it wouldn't make any sense to multiply just by 4. We need to be multiplying by 5 because that's how many layers there are. So one layer is 12 pieces or 12 cubes, and then there's 5 layers, so 12 times 5 is going to give us 60. So that last one right there is our correct answer. Okay, the reason I gave you this one is because it's one of those technology enhanced ones where you have to drag and drop, and I thought it was something a little bit different and something that you definitely need to know how to do. Does it make it harder? Absolutely not. You just have to use your length times width times height still and do each individual problem. So if we're looking at E, which is the first one, we've got 2 times 4 times 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 6 is 48. So that means 48 goes here. I'm going to mark it out at the bottom saying that we've used it. All right, next one, let me grab a color. F says 10 times 5 times 1. So 10 times 5 is 50. 50 times 1 is still 50. So that means 50 is going to go here. Mark that out. All right, next one on G. We have 3 times 4 times 7. So 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 7 is 84. So we're going to put 84 right here. Mark it out. Last one on this problem. We have for H 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So we're going to write 64 here and mark it out. I want you to notice that obviously we had more choices than we had problems. So on this one, you should expect to have some left over at the end that you did not use. All right, this kind of question kind of threw a few of you for a loop, and I want you to make sure you understand. We've got to look at this and think, okay, well, what do I know about volume? And on all of these problems we've been doing, we've been saying length times width times height, correct? All right, so that's what you're looking for. Obviously, we're going to use 4, 6, and 3. So we're going to look at our examples or our choices and see which one of these is the only one that tells us to multiply length times width times height. If I look in choice B, or the second choice, you see these addition symbols? That should be a red flag telling you that is not your answer. Same thing here. There's an addition symbol, not your answer. Addition symbol here, not your answer. The only one that tells you to multiply these three numbers, does not matter the order, but the only one that tells us to multiply those three numbers to get our volume is the first choice. So that is your answer. All right, this is the last question on this video, and what it's asking you for is, what is the total number of unit cubes needed to fill the object that is shown below without any gaps or overlaps? So all it's really asking you to do is find volume. Yeah, there's a picture with some cubes and there's leftover space, but what it's not asking you is how many more do we have to fill it up with. It's wanting to know the complete total. So honestly, you don't even need to count the cubes. We can use our length, width, and height to be able to multiply this problem. So we can just say 3 times 4 times 2. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. Final answer. All right, thanks for watching the second video. You have one more with composite figures. I know some of you struggle with that, so really pay attention to that video. And then there's some extra YouTube videos at the bottom. Be careful with those. You may want to watch the YouTube videos also before you take the Mastery Connect assessment. Totally up to you. And if you have any questions, you know I'll be on the Google Meet from 12 to 1, Monday through Friday. And then you can also message me through Remind or School Status, or you can email me. Anything that works for you, I'm here for you to help you. And I just ask you to please just work your best. Do the best you can, no stress, just working through everything just like I am. We're learning together.